Insight video a few minutes ago. Won't upload. Don't know why, but we're here. Wanted to let you guys know that I am doing a written column that's going to start from tomorrow. Be shared on the gg.co.uk website. I will retweet it tomorrow. I'll drop a link to the description. Link to the article in the description below. Sorry, it's been a long ass day. But I just thought I'd give you first glance at some of the stuff that we're talking about in there. There are a few more suggested bets. I will still keep doing the videos as well. It'll be a slightly different feel, but I'm going to run through some of the talking points within there. The plan with that is going to be to review the action from the last week and then to also talk about the action from the week that's about to come up. So I'll be able to review what's happened and I'll be able to preview what I think can happen, and then I can go on top of both of those. So without further ado, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that happened last week. Obviously, the 3-day meeting at the Cheltenham meeting was pretty pants, wasn't it? We saw that with the entries that were in there. It was always going to be a little bit lackluster. I was there myself on the Sunday, unfortunately with a dodgy belly. I had more shits than I had bets on Sunday. That tells you what kind of day it was. But we are where we are. Let's talk about the 3 days at Cheltenham. So Hermes Allen was obviously a very visually impressive winner on the Friday. Habrisco, I talked about these two horses being the two potential winners of the race. You could have got maybe 3-1 plus on each of them at some separate point. If you were backing at 3-1 each, you'd be getting even money the pair. Now, Habrisco was the subject of support. His price did go down. Hermes Allen, towards the start of the race, his price did start to decline quite rapidly. Now, the Twiston Davis horse in the race made a mistake at the first. Habrisco lost a little bit of momentum, but Hermes Allen was in pole position from the start. By the time, basically in between the first and the second flight, Hermes Allen was trading sub 6-4 in running. So Harry Cobden, the confident man that he is anyway, but the confident man he is at the moment, is riding everything with a bit of force. I think the race did lack a bit of depth anyway. He did get things his own way. He did jump nicely, so you can't go wrong with that. I mean, did make a couple of like fiddly ones, but on the basis of that, I don't think he deserves to be a 12-1 Ballymore horse. We need to see him in better company to see how he copes when he doesn't get things his own way, but he did jump nicely and he did what he needed to do. I think he's going to run in the Challow Hurdle at Christmas, which we know historically has some nice horses that go and win it, but again, it's never very deep, so I don't know how much more we're going to find out about him, but that's probably the pick of the action from Friday for me. Saturday was a bit more about the novice chasers. Over in Ireland, 3-Stripe Life got off to a winning start. Unfortunately, Grand Jury was ill-fated in that race, and I think he had the race wrapped up. I don't see 3-Stripe Life as a festival horse, but I do think he'll be better when he's a little bit further. But question marks around him still for me, but is what it is. Banbridge did take the Arkle novices chase, and obviously my guy Monroe, I wanted him to be in there. I completely understand with Paul Nicholls why he's not going to run him on that sort of stuff, because it was quick. Banbridge won as sort of expected now that the field did cut up a little bit. I don't know, like tripness wise, I don't think he is a 2-miler properly, so what he did was pretty impressive. Middle trip seems about right. He's about 12-1 top price for the turners. That seems maybe fair. That does look like that could be quite a deep race for the novices this season. And I do think there'll be a few more debutants that'll be better than him over fences. So if you're holding on to a bigger ticket than Happy Days, I can see the case from around about this sort of price, but not for me. We had another potentially nice race on the Saturday in the Grade 3 Poplar Square chase, but the first two in the betting failed to complete. But we saw enough to know that Coeur Sublime would have won the race and that Gentleman to Me is not a champion chase horse. So get that out of your heads straight away. Sunday was disappointing. I've already talked about the old Delhi belly and the toilet situation. I like to move. It did win the Greatwood off the top weight. Pretty decent effort, to be fair, but it was abysmal, wasn't it? They doled off the flights really close to the off, not fair for punters, and it did change the complexion of the race quite a lot. Now, Gin Coco traded at 1.14 in running. I know that because I backed him. Didn't trade. Bad man. But he did the same thing at Punchestown on a handicap hurdle, didn't he? Where he was very, very weak in the finish. So I think he's just a bit of a bottle job horse. And I like to move it, just sort of bullied and bossed it. So still really good effort, but it's hard to see him really being like a champion hurdle horse. And I don't think I like to move it or improve for a fence either. So very nice horse. But yeah, wouldn't be getting too carried away with that effort. I do think with the Gin Coco argument as well, like the performance he put up in that Greatwood probably would have been good enough to win the Sharp Novices Hurdle, which Fenner's Cross won. Now Fenner Cross won the class 3 maiden hurdle in the October meeting where Dear Mark was in behind. I talked about Dear Mark being a bet in the place for this race, didn't come to fruition, but he was only 6 lengths behind Fenner Cross. So has Fenner Cross really improved that much? I don't think he has. So I'd mark my words with this now, that Grade 2 is absolute dog shit in terms of form going forward. Let a few of them go out and win and start getting excited again, but that's not worth anything. Over at Navan on the Sunday, left a little bit more disappointed because Flame Bear and Fernie Hollow have withdrawn again by accounts of the ground, but understandable. That did mean that Hollow Games was sent off as a short prize favourite in a 2-mile one beginner's chase. Now, I don't think many of us last season would have expected him to be really, like, maybe starting off there, but maybe not doing so well in there. But he was really, really impressive. I was impressed with the way he jumped, the way he quickened off the back of the last. It was a bit Statler-esque, wasn't it? Because Statler, I know, started off a different trip, but 2 mile 4, a trip too short for him, but did the same thing, quickened away in the style of a real good horse. I mean, even Stage Star did that recently as well, quickened away like a good horse. So Hollow Games clearly is a very top class horse. I think he's going to be much better over fences than he was over hurdles. I said that last season too. I sort of thought last season that he did need a step up in trip, and I sort of might have earmarked him as a Brown advisory horse. But on the basis of that Arkle effort, I do like some pace for my staying horses, but Turner's looks probably pretty good for him, but I wouldn't rule him out of an Arkle. I don't even think he's priced up in it, but wouldn't have thought I'd be saying that the back end of last season about Hollow Games, but I was very impressed with him. Do need to see him run again, see him in better company. There's lots of these novices coming out now doing some flashy bits, and obviously the main horse that was going to be his competition was taken out, but he strung the rest of them out, and probably a lot of them were just out there handicapping. Now, I did mention Fernie Hollow didn't run. Riviere de Tel was sent off as favourite in that race. I don't think she warranted that really. I know on the terms maybe, but she doesn't jump very well enough. That didn't really cost the race. I just don't think she was good enough. Andy Dufresne would have been my type of the winner, or my idea of the winner in that race with the weight he was getting, but didn't do it. And obviously Captain Guinness did go and win the race. His first win since winning a Grade 2 back in February, and I think that says all we need to know about that form going forward. Like, it's no good. There was the eagerly anticipated, or eagerly awaited Lismullen Hurdle. We had Bob Oddinger, Zanna here, Flooring Porter in there. All three of those were disappointing in their own regards. Bob traded 103, just didn't finish with it. I talked about him at Cheltenham. I don't think he looked like he was 100% there. I definitely don't think he should have run at Punchestown. That's why I was talking about place laying him in my Punchestown preview. And I still don't think he looks 100% now. So I know people are saying he might come on for the run, but even if he does, and even if he gets back to his old self, I don't think he's winning a Stayers Hurdle. Flooring Porter was very disappointing considering 12 months ago he was a much better horse. So that's a worry for him. And Zanna here, I did touch on him when I was talking with Jamie about the fact that he could be like a Stales wild card, and he was 33s back then. I think he just showed again why he's not going to be winning Grade 1s, didn't he? So worrying for those ones. It has made me think a little bit more in the Stayers market. Is there something at a price that could be tempting? So with that, I've looked in a little bit. I know I'm going to get booed off the stage here, but I think Prashima at 20s for the Skeltons is a reasonable one to think about having a nibble on. He's not in my column as a suggested bet, but I just want to let you know my thought process. And he's sort of one on the radar because I thought that last run was pretty decent. Again, not really against much, but at least he is in good form this season, and some of those towards ahead of the market or ones that we fancied at a price maybe aren't so good so far. A lot of horses to rule off after one start, I get that, but you can only say what you see. So I think we'll move on to the stuff that's going to be coming up. So I talked about, I'll be reviewing the stuff for last week. We'll talk about the stuff coming up. Obviously, we've got the big boy race tomorrow, Jonbon versus Monroe. And I talked about this. I mean, I tweeted something earlier as well, which caused a bit of back and forth on there. The point of the tweet was I did the Wisdom of the Crowd video before. If you haven't watched it before, go watch it, how to make money betting on horses or betting. And it talks about Wisdom of the Crowd, basically adding in a bit of like a percentage sort of conservation in there, so making a bit of slush, and then also looking at the fact that you probably could make money betting like that. Now, I did a vote on there, and this isn't always the be-all and end-all of it, but 300 odd people voted in the end, and 80% of the people said Jonbon would win, and 17% were saying that Monroe would win. So at those prices, it would be 1.23, so about 1 to 4 for Jonbon, and maybe 5 to 1-ish for Monroe, a little bit under. The fact that at that point in time, Jonbon was available at 8 to 15, and just for me looking at it as a betting perspective, now I would have made him a 1 to 4 point myself. I've talked about how I'm going to be betting and how I'm looking for value. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be one that I'd want to go steaming into just because of the prices the way they are, because it is a novice chase. There's lots to find out. Jonbon scored really nicely, looked really good in there. Monroe, we haven't seen jump a fence yet. We don't know how good he's going to end up being over fences. A lot of hype and potential about him, which is why I put him up for the bet of the prices, because he was too much of a golf in there. But I just did that tweet out there basically just to suggest that all those people that are fancying Jonbon, maybe have a look at the price. Might not be that bad, 1 to 2. I know people don't like getting stuck into these shorties, and I wasn't suggesting anyone did fill their boots, but I just want people to think a little bit more. Like, I keep sharing that Harry Finley tweet, don't I? Can't believe that Azertia went off at 8 to 15. These days it'd be a 1 to 5 poke. You look at Jonbon being like a 5 or 6 to 1 poke for an Arkle, already paid out by Paddy Power. Monroe, who's his closest competitor in this betting heat, is a 33 to 1 poke, and you're getting 2s on Jonbon. Like, the golfing prices there is way too big. Now, I do think within the race tomorrow, as I say, I'll probably make Jonbon a 4s on poke, but I do think within the race tomorrow, it goes to show that Monroe, like Jonbon isn't invincible. Monroe has got the potential and the scope to potentially do something. I know Harry Cobden's going to be confident on him, hopefully, and go clear. So we'll see how they go. I do think Monroe could beat Jonbon tomorrow. But again, at the prices they're priced up for the race tomorrow, the anti-post bet, the reason why I mentioned that was, there could be a little bit a closer gap between them. Like Monroe shouldn't be bigger than a 20-1 poke, I don't think. So he's in the column tomorrow as a bet, but you guys would have already known about that. That'll be a real interesting one to watch. Clonmel on Thursday, we've got a couple of decent races. Ellie Mae versus Scarlet and Dove. Both of those tend to come on for their run, so I don't know how that will fan out. 7-1 and 10-1, I think they are top prices. Don't know if you'd want to get involved in either of those, as I say, because the others or either of them could come on for it. You might see something drift, but see enough in there. So if you're interested in the Mare's Chase, have a think about that. Blue Lord's going to run in the Clonmel Oil against Tornado Flyer and Durasso. Now, on those particular terms, Tornado Flyer is going to give him a few pounds and Durasso is going to get some. Durasso will keep Blue Lord honest up to his work. Now, if we talk about Blue Lord in Willie Mullins' stable tour, I know we take all those with a pinch of salt. Since the news of Allaho coming out that he might have to go straight to Cheltenham as a bit of a niggle, Blue Lord wasn't entered in the Poplar Square or the other one that Fernie Hollow was going to run in. They were the two races that were named by Willie Mullins as a starting point for Blue Lord. He's running him in this middle trip one. Now, he ran over 2.5 over hurdles. We knew about this. We saw it happen when he got very close to Bob Oninger, really, considering that was Bob Oninger at his peak. And Blue Lord looked like a horse that would probably stay. So the fact they're doing this is interesting to me. I think he will be a Ryanair horse. He's top price available, 33-1 for the Ryanair. Now, should Allaho not turn up, the whole market blows up anyway. But even if he does, Blue Lord's going to shorten up, I think. So I think 33 is a bet. So that's another recommendation on the column. So I do think that is a bet. He may not even need to go and win tomorrow to still be a bet, because I think that's the route they're going to go down from this season. I cannot see him being a 2-mile champion chaser. And if he did go and win okay tomorrow, Tornado Fly is probably going to be aiming for the King George. Durasso may have other sights on the rest of the season, but if he wins impressively, he's going to be 12s maybe. So I think he's a fairly safe, loose one that, again, borderline like a Monroe. We could run one in defeat and the price isn't dead. Also at the weekend, we see Ascot 2-day card Friday, Saturday. Friday's a few novice hurdlers that are worth keeping an eye on, but nothing to mention really. Saturday, we obviously see a Plujard at Betfair. Constitution Hill may or may not run at Ascot. I understand why Nicky's doing that. That'll rile a few people, but the ground, it rained and then it stopped raining. So he's going to want to try and find an easy in for him, isn't he? This is his first start in Open Company, so he may be the greatest novice that's ever been rated, but you're not going to want to just throw him into something as a competitive race and not an ideal condition. So I can understand it. Would be interesting for the fight in fifth, though, wouldn't it? If he said that Epitaph was going to go there and Constitution Hill was short before. Maybe Willie, maybe Nicky wants to get his Christmas money in somewhere else. Lon Presse could go in the 1965 chase. That'll be interesting to see. Last winner of that to go and win at Cheltenham was Vittor in the Ryanair. Funnily enough, the last winner of the Coral Hurdle was Forheen. So Willie Mullins just mops up everywhere, doesn't he? Over in Ireland on Saturday, there's the Craddockstown Novices Chase at Punchestown. There's been a couple of half-decent horses that are running there, but Size in Europe's the last winner of that to go and win on at Cheltenham, so goes back quite a way. Sunday, we've got the Grade 1 Morgiana. Willie's got 6 of the 8 entries in there. He's talking about maybe running them all. That obviously won't happen. He has won 10 of the last 11 of this race. It is a stranglehold he holds on there, but you're going back to 2012 when Hurricane Fly wanted to go and win a champion hurdle. So there's been some good horses since, but we know Constitution Hill, Honeysuckle are probably the favourites for it. We'll be interested to see who runs in there and who actually does quite well. So an exciting one. The Grade 2 on that day is the Florida Pearl Novices Chase, which is a pointer to the National Hunt Chase. Now, this is not a suggested bet in the column, but it's one I'm going to talk to you guys about that I think is well worth thinking about. Back in Focus did the double here a few years back, maybe 2012, 2013 season, maybe the same year as Fly actually, or in and around that. Manella Crooner for Gordon Elliott has been entered in this and a beginner's chase. Now, probably going to go for the beginner's chase if he goes anywhere, but he's mentioned him as his National Hunt Chase horse, or potentially his National Hunt Chase horse. He has got Frontal Assault as well in this Florida Pearl, so that may be one that's more to the forefront of people's minds. But Manella Crooner is 25-1 with Bet365, non-runner no bet, not non-runner no bet, but 25-1 cash out for the National Hunt Chase. I think that's where he's going to end up, and I can see that price contracting because they are top price. Regardless of where he goes, whether even when he gets a declaration, I think they'll shorten him. Should he go for the Florida Pearl Novices Chase to start with, I think he's going to shorten, especially if he goes well in there. And even in that beginner's chase, he may not even need to win, but I think 25-1, if you haven't got him on your bet slips already, you should probably add him on. I'm going to wrap this up now. I'll put a link to the column in the description below if you're watching this a little bit later. Fingers crossed we get to see a decent spectacle tomorrow with Jonbon and Monroe at Warwick, and there is some cracking racing this weekend. So I'll be back with some selections for the weekend because there's a couple I think I might be getting stuck into, and I bid you adieu. Thank you for all your support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with whatever you want to comment with. Good night.